Dan Lanning couldn't hold Lincoln Riley's jockstrap. Fight on. Hang on to that thought for a minute, because we're going to go into that, hopefully, because we haven't really addressed it. None of the calls have addressed it, because that's the show. I mean, I'm trying to get a little more thematic on our show. I do say this is your guys' show, but I really want callers to start talking about this, because I do want to address this Dan Lanning versus Lincoln Riley thing, because CBS came out. I might as well do it while I'm here. It's really quick. Sorry, caller. This is long. But here you go. Here's ranking. Oh, this is on 3. Sorry, my bad. No, it's per CBS. Okay, sorry. So it's an on 3 graphic. Thank you, on 3. But this is the CBS Sports ranking. So you got Ryan Day at 1, Dan Lanning 2, Lincoln Riley at 3. And I get the Ryan Day kind of I get that above Riley, but really, what has, I mean, here's the thing with Lanning. Lanning was a Ray Finkel away from definitely being, yeah, dude, I'm number 1 on this list. I have a national championship. If they didn't shank that field goal, it was a long field goal, but it was a makeable field goal. He hits that field goal. We're all talking differently about Ryan Day. So I go there. That's fine. But I'm waiting for someone to call and tell me, what the hell has Dan Lanning done that Lincoln Riley has not done? I'm not talking about his current roster. I'm talking about him as a coach. And before you say, oh, well, Tim, it's all about recruiting. It's maybe 5 or 6 years ago it was all about recruiting and your staff. Now it has a hell of a lot to do with NIL. And I'm going to tell you right now, you give Lincoln Riley and this staff, that kind of support. You give us an Uncle Phil, and I bet your rosters are very similar. So feel free. Either you drop us a super chat, or you come on here and you explain to me, any Oregon fan or anyone, you tell me what the hell, or even a Trojan fan, what has Dan Lanning done that Lincoln Riley hasn't done 4 or 5 times? So I'm waiting to hear it. Matt, really quickly, do you want to correct me?
Oh, well, first off, let's just clarify. Top 5 in the Big Ten, top 5 in the country. Like, those are 2 very different conversations. But I would agree with you. Dan Lanning, look, he's recruiting amazingly well. He's doing so many aspects of program building well, and Oregon is in position to make the college football playoff semifinals, maybe even play for the national title. But Lanning actually needs to do that first, right? He has to actually seal the deal, cement the recruiting and the roster construction with a top 4 showing. Because Lincoln Riley's been to 3 college football playoffs. He's coached 3 Heisman Trophy winners. He's not even 41 years old. So, if you're saying right now, who's doing the better job right now? Okay, it's Lanning. But in terms of when we talk about who's the better coach, we usually don't just talk right this second. We usually talk about the full resume, the full body of work. And
right.
That is not a discussion, right? Lanning needs to, on a general level, if we're talking right in the moment, July 12th, okay, I get it. Lanning's better right now in the moment. But when we generally talk about who's a better coach, that generally means in general over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
Without the right now qualifier. So Lanning needs to get to the Final 4 at least once before we vault him past Lincoln.
And again, to be fair to Lanning, he's only been a coach for 2 years. I got you, but you had everyone agreed you probably had the best roster, top to bottom, past 2 years in a row. You could not get past DeBoer and Washington, right? You lost 3 times to Washington in a row. You could not beat them. So my simple point is I'm saying right now, like you said, given the body of work that both these guys have, I'm not shitting on Lanning. I mean, he's doing a good job. They have a chance to win a national championship this year. What they put together in Oregon is solid. Coaching is suspect. It has been suspect in big games. We all have talked about it. Let's see if he can get over that hump and get, and win a national championship, because he's one of the favored teams to win the whole thing this year. This narrative may change completely and flip next year if he can show what he can do on the field this year. But my point is what has he done so far to vault him above a coach with a resume like Lincoln Riley? And unless you got, still working through the bitter divorce in your mind, or if you just kind of hate USC or whatever, or you just hate Lincoln Riley for some reason, you cannot have a logical argument that Dan Lanning in his 2 years, because he's only been a coach 2 years. He hasn't even won a conference championship. He's had a couple really good seasons with a stacked roster. he needs to show more than that if he wants to say that, if anyone wants to say that he's above Lincoln Riley. So I welcome any phone calls to come in and tell us otherwise. We're going to make these phone calls, except for this one person that waited a long time. The rest of the calls will be really quick because I want to hear some people from the outside. I don't want an echo chamber. Tell me why Dan Lanning is this great coach.
Yeah, I don't even. Dan Lanning versus Lincoln Riley is like, I don't even. That's nothing. I don't know. That's nothing to compare. It's like, I don't know. It's like saying who can shoot better, my toddler or me in basketball. That doesn't even make any sense. You can't. All I'm gonna say to that, if right now the Dan Lanning if Dan Lanning went for a defensive coordinator position in the NFL, in Lincoln Riley went for offensive coordinator position in the NFL, who's gonna get hired and who wouldn't even get a look right now? I don't even. That's not even nothing to debate. That's like, it's a complete waste of time. And CBS, I believe, is just doing it just so they can hype up Oregon because they know they have some games coming up this year to keep the hype up because they're going to play Ohio State. That's all I think that is. But I don't even believe CBS believes that. I don't know. I just think it's just made up. I don't even think it's real. You can't literally be that. Your brain can't even function to tell you that Dan Lanning is better than Lincoln Riley. And first of all, he's only been a head coach for 2 years, and he hasn't even seen what Lincoln Riley has. Like, Dan Lanning has had opportunities with a stacked roster, and he's choked against Washington twice. He hasn't won a Pac-12. I mean, he's living off that one championship under Kirby Smart in Georgia, which was really a Kirby Smart defense that he was just holding the paper for. But that's my opinion on that. And
yeah, no.
Other than that, USC is still going 11-1.
Hey, he might be the greatest coach of all time. The man's only been there 2 years. I'm not cracking. I want to give him a chance to do what he can do. And again, I do think they're going to do some wonderful things this year. However, preseason, for this number to come out and put Riley behind him, I think this is just people farming for hits is really all it can only be, because that's just, maybe we're giving it oxygen and we shouldn't.